You're listening to The Girl Dad Show.
Welcome to Season 3 of The Girl Dad Show, where we explore the intersection of parenthood and entrepreneurial spirit. As a successful business owner and the father of two amazing daughters, I know firsthand the challenges of balancing both. Join me and some incredible guests as we share tips and tricks for finding work-life balance and making a positive impact not only on the world, but also our families. Let's create a fulfilling life together. It's The Girl Dad Show, Season 3. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Girl Dad Show. Today I had Scott on the show, and we talked about his journey building out his business in his early years and how he was able to turn that into a self-running business so that he could take a huge chunk of his time to retire early and be a focused father and really dive in deep into what fatherhood meant and being a professional dad. It's a fascinating journey and a fascinating story. I just find him to be one of the most interesting philosophers in my life right now, and I know that you'll enjoy his episode, and I hope that you learn a lot from it like I did. Thank you and enjoy. Scott, what is going on, my brother? Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Oh man, it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to get to know you in this context. I feel like our relationship has been just like a crash course in business, and it's going to be really good to be able to unpack the other side of Scott, because you have quickly become my life goals. So I need to
know. That's insane. That's a crazy thing to say. But thank you, and it is a delight to get time with you as well. Thank you for making time for me and having me on the show.
Awesome. Let's jump right into it. Tell the listeners what you do for a living.
Well, I basically am a professional academic coach, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I started as a private tutor when I was 20. I made some money. I became good at something that I thought made a difference in the world I felt good about. I soon had a waiting list of people to work with me, and I said, this could be a business. I went to grad school. I went to B school. I learned how to do it. I started the business. We're now in our 18th, 19th year. And so I've been doing that for a minute, and I've used the skills I gained as a little sort of startup entrepreneur in other fields now, and I've invested in or consulted with a number of other startups. So now I also have a bit of like a PE kind of entrepreneurial element of my professional life, and I still run the original tutoring academic coaching company.
Yeah, that's not good enough. I need you to literally tell them what your business does, because it's much bigger and cooler than that.
Was that not cool? That didn't work out?
It is really cool, but it's really cool. And I need you to actually tell us the name of the business, how many locations you have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's not some like national super brand yet, but
exactly yet.
Listen, I think the thing that's important to me to say is that I'm on a mission. I'm just part of a big group of humans on Earth trying to make a difference in the lives of kids. And in my case, the sweet spot is adolescence. And the philosophy means a lot to me, where it's like we hit on the holistic person situation, like the experience of being a 15-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid who's overwhelmed, is dealing with stress, anxiety, social pressures, social media stuff, time management issues, self-image issues. Oh my God, I can't, and like let alone I can't like figure out the algebra. You know, there's so many things at play. So I run a tutoring company that focuses on holistic personal growth and long-term life skill building. Oh, and by the way, I'll teach you the physics, and then in the short term you'll get the A as well. And so that has resonated with folks. I've had pandemic shifted stuff, but basically we got to a place where we were 75 people on staff. I had 12 people running it. We have locations all around New Jersey, where I'm from, northern New Jersey, central New Jersey, Manhattan area, Missouri. I had clients in 5 continents, hundreds of people who are in Brazil, Kenya, Philippines, people in the States, doing remote sessions, in-person sessions. And it was a machine that was just chilling, and I basically retired at a weirdly young age, and now I'm back in the trenches rebuilding it. But the company's called BrainStorm.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's an amazing story. And I thank you. I appreciate you letting me double click on it, because I felt like it wasn't fair for me to set you up by saying you were my life goals and then you to just say, I tutor kids. You know what I mean? Like, because that's not really what you do, you know? And I'm like, come on, man. No, I appreciate the humility, and I love that about you so much. And I definitely think that that's really, really cool. But I think it's really important that everyone understands that, the scale and scope that you're creating, this philosophy in. And I think it's really fascinating. And I also love the philosophy behind it. I love that you started with it, so much so that I'm actually talking to you about potentially
Yeah.
being one of your first franchisees. So
Yes.
yeah.
Which I'm super thrilled about, by the way. I know you're a super beast and you have a lot to bring to the table and you've got a lot going on in your life. But if we mutually decide to prioritize it, it'll be killer.
Well, I also think that it's like something that's personal, right? Even beyond business, like what you just said, it's not just the business, it's the philosophy. Because, like, for me, like, I look at my two young girls growing up, right? And they're young, but I'm looking at the data sets of, like, just like the kids that are going into their teenage years, especially young girls. Like, the data is so, like,
Brutal.
scary. It's
Yeah.
brutal. And just makes me, like, think of like what can I do to mitigate those percentages and risks, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to be able to shield them, nor do I want to shield them from the realities of the world. But what can I
Right.
do to best prepare them and equip them to handle just the crazy statistics that are happening with our teenage girls, you know, in the States?
For sure, bro. And I'm so happy it's on your mind.
Yeah.
I love being a father to daughters, and now I'm so about women education in the world, and so it's a perfect nexus of my skills and my experience. And there have been some really neat research projects done, by the way, that have shown that if we were to enumerate the biggest challenges, let's say, that the globe faces, the human race faces, and put the top 10 biggest things we're facing, something like 6 out of the 10 would be solved indirectly by first solving the issue of female education. If we could figure out female education globally, because, think about it, bro, in the United States, females have wonderful opportunities to learn, but in a number of other countries, and I've seen this firsthand, girls are going to school till they're 6, 7 years old, maybe 8, and they're done. And then they're doing other stuff. And the lack of education for women is causing a lot of downstream issues. So it's really an interesting topic for me. And I think it's going to be sort of a lifelong passion project, is like education for women. And in the States, the issue isn't that girls don't have access to education, it's that they have access to too much negative energy from social media and a lot of other issues come up from all these issues. And so now you're talking about like the data with like suicides and like drug use and dropping out and so much
Depression,
heaviness, so much
yeah,
depression, bro. And anxiety is crippling and horrifying just to listen to that. And I'll tell you what, one thing that I'm doing for my kids, and I'm not popular with my kids about it, I wonder what your policy is going to be, is my girls don't have phones yet. And
How old are they?
they're 13 and 10.
Oh, wow. That's
That's like-
a big commitment.
Right. That's like sacrilege. Like, how dare you? And I get it constantly, like in this like side eye, like subtle way. My 13-year-old's like, da 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 da. Yeah, because she has a phone. I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna apologize. So we're trying to find a right balance, like you were saying, bro. Like, and I wonder what your policy or your idea is going to be. But you try to find this balance between I need to give them exposure to the real world, and yet not have them so entrenched in it and so consumed by it that they become victims of all that scary, crazy, violent self-hatred that we see out there.
It's such good words. Oh my gosh, I love it because like what I don't think people realize, and that's funny because you're in it and you are in the space as a business owner, as a parent, and as a dad of 2 teenage girls. So you're like literally in it, but like I don't think commonly people know just the staggering rates that are like afflicting females specifically that are teenagers right now. It's like it's like not like, oh, it's like 10% more. No, it's like 50 to double.
Yes.
It's like crazy. 50% or double like, the rates of men in the same age group or boys in the same age group. And like it's crazy. And it's like and I didn't even think about the global thing. I didn't at all. Like you just like totally blew my mind right now at that. I'm like, what? I was like, I can't even keep my girl safe. Like, what are you talking about the world for? Like, yeah. So I gotta level up even there now. Geez, thanks a lot, Scott. Okay, I'm just trying to catch up to your business side. Yeah.
No. Well, so listen, man, I'm glad you're bringing it up because this is why I do what I do. BrainStorm is my original company. Sorry for being a little out of focus. And we're now looking to expand that. But I also consult for and I'm starting businesses that are more directly relating to social emotional learning and mental health. And so I'm building new companies, or I'm part of a team of people building companies that are expressly devoted to those causes. Whereas historically, BrainStorm has done that, but done it subtly. Where we say to parents, yes, hire us for SAT prep, but we're actually going to mentor your daughter for lifelong skills. You know what I mean? And so we've had to give sugar, and like the medicine is like this ministry that is like this subtle undercurrent. But now I think the zeitgeist is such that people out in the world have gotten the memo. Like, oh shit, this is real.
Serious.
Girls are suffering. And
It's
from
serious.
and from like Instagram in particular, but there's some other sites where like there's real addiction happening there. There's overwhelm, there's anxiety, there's incredible self-deprecation and so forth. And man, it is so pernicious and sad. And I think now the word is out and parents are getting it. And so when I say to them more openly than I could 15 years ago, I'm going to help your daughter with her mental health while we work on her academics, that actually resonates now.
Yeah. Wow, we've come a long way, and you get to actually viscerally see that. That's amazing. Because
Yeah.
you're actually been in the space and you get to see the climate changing, because I think that like even in the last like 5 years that is like changed drastically. So you've probably seen it from the whole 18 years you've been in the industry.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Hey, do you mind if I switch gears a little bit and talk about your childhood? How'd you grow up?
How did I grow up? I mischievously. I was in trouble constantly. Truly, I just get in trouble all the time. The story is, I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and I was born in 1981, 80s baby, and my parents, were like stay-at-home mom and dad who commuted into Manhattan every day. And so that was our vibe. I had a lot of flexibility and freedom. I got into a lot of trouble. I found myself like without guardrails. I wasn't really clear on I was clear for my parents on what was right and wrong, but they weren't always around and I can get away with stuff. And I was bored in school. I thought it was too easy, and I kind of like ended up failing tests. And eventually they found out that I was just really bored, and they had me skip grades. But I was bored, and it was a troubling time, basically. And I had trouble with friends as a result of the getting in trouble and the skipping grades and all this stuff. It's like I was ostracized for years. I had a lot of trouble finding my way at a young age. And a really cool thing I've heard recently that I find is really interesting and useful, or at least pertinent to me, is that we are consistently, and I think about this from the perspective of a dad, by the way, for my daughters, we are, even as adults, constantly trying to solve the problem of our 8-year-old selves. And so I thought about that for myself, and I was like, okay, what problem was I solving when I was 8? And in my case, when I was 8, the problem I was solving was, why don't I have friends? I need more friends. And because I was just an outcast at the time. And to this day, I am so insanely ravenous for friendships, and I love my friends, and I'm so crazy loyal to them. And I can never have enough. Like I'm going to meet someone amazing tomorrow. I'm going to make a new friend. I love friends. And it's like, there's a part of me that will never be satisfied. You know what I mean? Because I'm still being that 8-year-old kid who wants more friends. So that was my childhood, just like feeling like I didn't have friends, and I was the oldest sibling, and I just got into trouble a lot. But I had beautiful parents who were incredible, supportive. I honestly had a pretty much idyllic, home life, and I was the envy ultimately of kids in my all my friends in my school were like, you live in you live like the Von Trapps, like you like the family. Like my friends would come over, we'd be like gathered around a piano, like singing harmonies. They're like, who is this family? It's just like really fun, and we played sports, and we had faith, and we had a lot of really cool things going for us that made us feel unified, and ended up being a beautiful family experience.
It's amazing, man. That's awesome. And then what did they think about it when you figured out the tutoring thing?
Oh man, my parents were always really, really supportive, and of all of us, of all of our, the 4 kids, all of our different paths. Like we've gone all over the place, and they just, I guess my parents really hammered on the idea that like what you do professionally doesn't matter per se. Like the ostensible nature of like, that's a prestige job. Way to go. We're proud of you. It was more like, are you people of character? Do you love the Lord? Do you love your fellow man? Are you following through your commitments? Are you people of integrity? That's all they would hammer on. And so because they felt I was in that place, it didn't matter what my job was.
Wow. I love it. That's a really interesting take on parenting. Are you using that same thing for your kids?
For sure.
Awesome. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. What do your kids think you do? And then this follow-on question to that is, what do they think about you retiring for those, it was like 5 or 6 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. So my daughters, I have one of the weird, I think an exception to the rule, which is my young daughters understand what I do a little bit. Most kids are like, I don't know what my parents do. Who knows what a freaking accountant is,
Yeah.
But no, I do something that my kids have witnessed. Like I'll have students at my house sometimes, or they'll see me on a Zoom call, and they're like, "Oh, he's being a teacher. I know what teachers are. I see them every day." So they kind of get that part of what I do. they don't understand what it took for me to sort of retire and do the things when they were too young for anything to really be on their radar anyway, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, from when I was about 30 years old, we had our second daughter. And from 30 to 37, 38, I didn't really work. It was a really weird season of life. But I kind of let the machine I had built, because we always hear this crazy stories about people who start little businesses, little companies or whatever, and they just get owned by the business. They have no life, they have no freedom. And I said, I was always like, I will not be that person. I will build a machine and it will run itself. And that was always the big, commitment. And so I did incredible hours during my 20s to accomplish it, but I did. And then at 30, 31, I was like, cool, done. And so I let the team run it. And I spent the vast majority of my time raising little girls and helping my wife, who has some unfortunate chronic illnesses. So I was traveling with them. We spent 3, 4, 5 months at a time in Latin America every year. Whoa. And we did unschooling, we did world schooling, we did all sorts of fun, interesting things that my daughters, there was no way it registered for them at the time. Like, I doubt they remember half the stuff I did because they were young. But I was planting seeds at a time when I felt planting seeds was important.
So cool. That's amazing. And so you actually were programming curriculum, it sounds like. You actually even did some homeschooling yourself. It's not traditional homeschooling, it sounds like. It sounds like you were designing your own schooling.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so I have, listen, I'm young, bro. I'm nothing if not weird and unconventional. Like, I'm very happy.
Yeah. Oh, I know that. I met you and you're like, I don't do calendars, man. Just call me. And I'm like, I was already thrown off. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? I'm like, what? You're like, I don't do anything that's planned out more than 2 weeks. And I'm like, I don't do anything that's not planned out more than 2 weeks. We're never going to be friends. But I love that we still made it work. I love it, you know? Yeah. So, well, yes, I know.
Yeah. Well, so I think there is the part of it, though, that's important to note, that, like, I have a spouse that's very conventional. She likes rules. She likes the way it's done. And I like to know the rules and the way it's done so I can absolutely kick them to the curb and not follow them at all and do something else.
Oh, interesting.
And so we have an interesting complementarity there. I found that at a young age, my wife said, I'd prefer to do conventional things, like put them in like little school programs and have them whatever. But she deferred to me, and she was very gracious at that time around saying, okay, they're young enough, let's play with it, what do you have in mind? And we kind of co-created an understanding of how this is going to work. I showed her research I had done, and we ended up doing a mix of, as I say, unschooling and world schooling and Scott schooling. So, like, unschooling is a thing. You know, there are Facebook groups out there about this if you want to search for it. But unschooling is the notion of, we learn by experiences. You don't need to sit in a chair and look at a book. And so, especially at young ages, don't call it school. Don't make it codified and formal. Go outside and play in the woods. That's learning, you know?
Yeah.
And you found something that was an issue, or you found something that you wanted to build a treehouse? All right, well, then let's do that. And you're going to learn as you do it. And that's all learning, but we're not calling it school, right? Or we're calling it unschool. And world schooling is the notion that the best way that you learn is by traveling, which I have also found in my life. Like, I have had incredible experiences living or traveling in Madrid, Brazil, Costa Rica, Kenya, this, that, the other. And I find that all these places I go, I learn way more in a week than I would in 3 months in a classroom. And so I had that notion to myself of like, all right, well, I'm going to also world school. I'm going to bring my kids to just interesting parts of the world and interact with others.
The world thing is actually, I actually have a comment about it. So as soon as you finish, I want to add to it because I actually think it's more than just educational. I think it's actually cultural.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Well, cultural is part of, I would say, like, that's part of the umbrella of education includes cultural understanding.
Yeah.
And by the way, cultural studies was my major in college. So I understand some of that and care about it. And so when we went abroad, we never stayed in like resorts and all those fancy places. We stayed in like some super humble local spot, surrounded by locals, learning how to make local food, volunteering at the local kitchen, learning the language if we could. Like, we get immersed. Yeah. And that's just incredible education.
I love that. And I love that you just said the thing about learning the most from travels, because I feel like I learned that in my adulthood, and I'm not sure if you learned that as well in your adulthood, but I feel like I grow the most professionally, and obviously personally by default, but really the professional is the one where you can kind of measure it more easily when I traveled. and you start to experience how people think, and you get out of the normal tunnel vision. You get stuck in and being in this like vortex of your ecosystem. You don't realize you're in it until you leave it. But like even like I had a conversation with someone earlier about this, but even moving from California, Silicon Valley to Austin, Texas has literally changed the way that I think. It's amazing. Like just seeing the different like cultural differences between the states in the country. It's just like, oh wow, like there's a different way of life, there's a different point of view, there's different value systems. It's like fascinating. Someone was telling me like they're like, oh yeah, like I really want my kid to travel with me to Japan because like, and I was like, why? And they're like, you know, like it's just culturally normal for like 5-year-old kids to have this task where they go out on their own and they go grocery shopping. They have to like ride the BART and then you have to go to the specific store, and then and you'll see like it's not just like one or two of these like 5-year-old kids. There's like hundreds of them just like by themselves, like just like, and it's totally normal culturally for them to do this on their own. And I'm like, what? Like what? But I'm like, it just makes me think about like, you know, the experience, you know, of different values really like helps you. It doesn't mean that you have to like adopt it, but it definitely opens your mind to the world, right? And it like gives you empathy. And I think that's the core thing that I feel like I want my kids to grow up with faster than I grew up with that. Because I don't think my professional experience and my ability to make money skyrocketed until I had more empathy. I think my empathy is what allowed me to be more successful fiscally. And it's so funny that those two things are correlated because it's like, you would never imagine understanding humans better is what's going to help you make more money, but it's absolutely what it is. It's absolutely what it is.
Well, understanding humans helps you be a better marketer. You know, it helps you to better put together what the market says it wants, talk about it to them well in a convincing way, and then deliver on it. And in some cases, especially if it's a coaching business or whatever it might be, like reading people, like I run, you know. So empathy. I love that as a big takeaway from the cultural studies. And by the way, culture is a prison. And so as interesting as culture is, like I live in, and by the way, United States doesn't have one unified culture, as you just said. California, Austin, those are two very different cultures. Let alone Jersey. Like we got our thing. So like these are not one culture. So I'm in one little culture. I have this little thing right around. I'm part of the what I call psychoburbia of Manhattan, and I'm just part of that world. And that's my culture, and it's awesome in certain ways and not in other ways, and that's great. And then once I go to another culture, even if it's not another country, but I go visit you in Austin, and as soon as I have that first experience where I go, wait, other people see the world this other way, it sets a really interesting precedent, which is, oh, interesting, the way I live doesn't have to be the way I live forever. I don't have to espouse all the ideals of my neighbors. I could view things a different way.
That's right.
And then you can get out of the cage of culture. You can get out of the prison that is invisible around you. And then you can choose like, you know, how you want to live or how you want to see things.
This episode of The Girl Dad Show is brought to you by Owners Club. As a business owner myself, I know firsthand how challenging the journey can be. Whether it's having someone that I can ask a very tactical question to, or just being able to share my big successes without guilt. Building a business is a lonely journey, and it does not have to be. After building and coaching dozens of businesses to success, there is one insight that is so obvious and simple, yet hard to execute. And that is network equals net worth. And so if you're a growth-minded, supportive, smart, and hardworking business owner looking for a community of like-minded entrepreneurs to build with, look no further than the Owners Club. You will make lifelong friends and build your business that works for you. You can learn more online at owners.club.
I was curious, bro. Can you elaborate on the California Austin? What's one example of a big cultural difference that you've seen?
I'll tell you one. The biggest one right now is the fact that like I'm no longer infatuated with this arbitrage of disruption. Like you don't even realize how bad it is in Silicon Valley. Like when you're living in there, because everyone. I mean, I think that if my kid wants to be, you know, hyper theoretical and super academic and like, you know, incredibly highbrow, you know, conversations, I would literally pay for them to move to Silicon Valley. Like some of the smartest minds, some of the deepest thinkers, some of the most creative people in the world. And I want them to be around that. But like I moved here and I'm like, people are making millions of dollars like installing shit tanks in the ground. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm like, are you serious right now? And you're like, yeah, like there's just so many more people doing like just different work that I just never really thought about. And then the shocking truth came when I started my pool service business. I started cleaning pools for a living. And I told some of my Silicon Valley friends I visited after, I was telling them about it. They're like, oh, got it. So you're going to do that so you can collect enough data because you use that data to basically figure out how to build a software that'll disrupt the. And I'm like, no, I'm just cleaning pools. I'm just cleaning pools. They're like, okay, got it. Because if you just clean enough pools, then you can figure out the robot that you need to build that'll replicate the cleaning motion. And I'm like, no, like there's no disruption. There's no higher meaning. There's literally no arbitrage, like this really disruptive arbitrage of value. I'm literally finding people that have a dirty pool. They're giving me money and I'm cleaning it. That's like literally that's the end of it. And it's just like reminded me like, wow, I live in an ecosystem where like everybody is looking for the disruption. Everyone is looking for that ephemeral like change that they're trying to make in the globe, right? And I'm like, it's so fun and like interesting to be in this world where people are like, I'm also making a lot of money and I'm just like spending more of my time with my family. And I'm like, interesting. Right. That's really interesting. And then like, so my life goals started to change, right? And my priorities started to change. And like, I'm like, actually, I don't really care about changing the world. I actually just care more about spending time with my family. And so I started opening my mind up to this concept of like, you know what? I actually don't care if I'm not working on the coolest startup. I don't mind that I don't have the coolest logo or title or equity in the most sexiest startup. Like, I'm actually okay with that because it doesn't actually excite me anymore. I actually just want more time with my kids. And then I meet people like you that like literally are like, oh, I spend all my time with my kids. And I'm like, damn it, I want that. How do I get that? I want that. Because like, honestly, like you're like, oh, I don't even have social media. I barely even like, hey, if you want to call me, just call me and we'll go on a walk together. And I'm like, that's really interesting. I'm like, that's fascinating. How are you doing that? And it makes me like trying to reverse engineer how you created that ecosystem for yourself, right? Because in reality, like, I never would have even thought about that because the only thing I knew in my tunnel vision of being inside of Silicon Valley was what's the next big problem that I can help be a part of to solve and change the world. It's very normal and it's not bad. I don't think it's bad at all. I think that's great. But it's just like when I actually do the introspective like thought process of what I want, I'm like, I don't know if I want that for me right now in my stage of life.
Exactly. That's the way I say it. Also, right? It's about right now in this stage of life. Like, it's also good to note the idea of life comes in seasons. And you don't have to feel like any commitment you make is for 80 years. It could be a commitment for 8 years. And just say, for right now, this is my commitment. I think that's a great way to think of it.
Hey, thanks, man. If I had to ask you, though, what sorry, I do want to actually, no, before I ask this question, I want to go back to the other thing because I want to hear the other one. So the World School, Unschool, World School, what's the Scott School?
Oh, that's just me being weird and unconventional and like coming up with my own stuff. So, okay, essentially, I designed a with my wife, but I really pushed it. I created it, and she kind of then sat with me and we talked about it and we refined it together a bit. To your point about reverse engineering, I said, what am I trying to help create here? What is my goal? Like when I look at my daughter when she's 15 and when she's 25 and when she's 35 and hopefully when she's 45, 55. What do I want to see? How do I want to feel like, I did my part to push her in the right direction to be an amazing, astounding human being? What would that look like? Is it that she speaks 8 languages? Is it that she has memorized the Bible? Is it that she is the best female at math in North America? Like how would I know that like I've achieved something? What is the goal? And so basically I took a page, I guess, out of my parents' book and I thought about basically just character traits and attributes that I wanted to do with them. And I came up with a list of like 12 attributes. And I said, like, I want them to be courageous. I want them to be kind. And I had to take the time to define all of those words, by the way. We don't want to leave them ambiguous. I defined the words. I looked up the etymology of the words. I found synonyms, antonyms. I like put in a whole word cloud. I was very clear about what these things were. And I said, they're going to be they're going to be agreeable and disagreeable. That's a Steve Pinkner term. And so like I had this list of things I wanted to see in them as a character trait list. And then I said, okay, if I want them to be this thing, what are 8 action steps I can take over the next 8 years to make that happen? And so I thought about things like, if I want them to be, let's say, like generous. That was a big one for me. And if I want them to be generous, how can I help develop generous people? What does that look like? And so Scott School eventually became a set of practices that weren't necessarily sitting at a desk, but sometimes were, but were like basically a series of like challenges and adventures and workshops and experiences that I knew. Of course, my 5-year-old had no idea, but I knew that we were developing generosity in her through that effort, for example. And so Scott School was the effort to develop attributes and values that would be long-term. Does that make sense?
More than you know. The question I have now is, I there's 2 questions. One is, how is that going? And then 2 is, have you done it intentionally or just had it in the background and permeated it through life? Like taking these moments to say, oh, I'm going to instill these values. These are the tenets. Yes,
sure. How's it going? Terribly. My daughters are horrible human beings. I'm not talking about you, honey. It's your sister. No, they're great. They're cool people. What I think is interesting is that I've a few distinctions that I think are worth noting that I think are useful is like, I knew that I would love my kids. I also wanted to like my kids. I wanted to feel like they were people I really respected and enjoyed their company. And so I want to make sure this isn't too circuitous, but essentially I've worked with a lot of very wealthy clients, wealthy people. Okay. And I've seen a lot of cautionary tales. Okay? Like I've seen a lot of females, males, teenage kids who are like, oh God, they're a hot mess. And their parents hire me at the last minute to swoop in and save the day and get them into their dream college or whatever. But man, they should have hired me 10 years ago when the kid was 7 and he was more impressionable and he could set some stuff in place. And these poor kids are suffering, and sometimes they're suffering from affluence. It's like the book Affluenza. Well, it's a great book, by the way. But I decided, like one of my rules about being a father to daughters is I don't raise princesses. I don't raise girls who are enabled and entitled and, oh, daddy, I should have an 18th pair of shoes. Like we're not going to do that. Okay, we're not that family. Okay, and so my girls in that way, I think has been marvelously successful because like they're super cool and fun and awesome, and I love hanging out with them. I don't love them but dislike them. I like them. They're fun. Yeah, and we have fun together. So I think that's going great. And for the second part, I'm a very intentional person. So when it came to all those things, I was, like I said, this became my sort of full-time obsession for a season. For a season of life, I thought about this all the time, and it was just a thing that I enjoyed. And I enjoyed, like, anytime I hung out with my daughter, I was thinking to myself, what can I do with her this afternoon that will help her become more courageous and more resourceful? And I would design something for it. Like, I never had it in mind that I would package it later and I would like sell it to people as a thing, like a Scott's 12-step program. Like I had no like business aspirations with it. I just wanted to be a fun, interesting, useful dad, and I enjoyed it.
God, it's awesome. I cannot wait. I mean, you know this, but I'm very close to living your last stage. So hopefully I'll be able to tinker and play a little bit, and then come back out of it, and then I'll say, hey, can we do something together? But I can't even imagine just like, what that looks like in using your intellectual horsepower on being a dad. It's just like, 'cause you obviously are very, very smart, and you're very, very thoughtful and intentional. And just to be able to apply that to being a father is like so like hilarious to me. I just love it because it's like, it's just like taking all of that and just like channeling it into this thing, It's like, that's like non-fiscal, you know what I mean? It's just like, very, different kind of benchmarks, right? But like, and I don't even know how you would even qualify that, but, it's really fascinating.
Thank you, bro, and I appreciate the affirmation there, and I will say that we do go in seasons again, and we're talking about prioritization, and I leapfrogged a lot of folks in my 20s when they were kind of paying their dues and just like starting in the machine and making their way up the ladder really slowly, doing long hours, long commutes, and the whole thing. And meanwhile, I'm like hustling and building this business that suddenly has 75 employees, and I'm like retired at 30. Like I was way ahead. But from the fiscal point of view, I have lost all, well, not all, but like I've lost a lot of that advantage because for my 30s, I was like, I don't care about that now, you know? And so other people have continued their grind, and now they've in some cases like surpassed me. And it's just a really important topic that you and I have talked about a bunch, is just deciding what feels like enough, you know?
That's right.
And so to me, it's like I had a number. It helps to have a number. I had a number in my mind, and I don't live in Missouri. I don't live in Maine. I live in New Jersey, outside of Manhattan. I have certain levels of expenses, and I said, so given my expenses, what do I want to make every year? And I'm just going to be happy with that. I'm not going to strive for past it. I don't need to get this or whatever. This, and I'm happy. And so long as I hit this, I'm going to do the minimum amount of effort to get to this, and then otherwise I'm going to be happy with it. And other people have higher numerical goals, and that's not wrong. But they worked more to get those higher goals in a lot of cases, or they worked smarter in some way. You know,
you have
whatever.
to sacrifice for things. It's
Yeah.
just the reality of the world. I don't care how smart you are. Like, there are things that you are sacrificing for success. It's just the nature of this thing. And now that I've interviewed almost 80, entrepreneurs, executives, and professionals, it's basically, I mean, my 80 is not really a big number, but I feel like it's a big number. And I've found that it's literally, you're just sacrificing. That's all it is. You want a little more money, you're sacrificing a little bit of this. You want more time with your kids, you're sacrificing a little bit of this. Like, you're just playing a game of, 100, here's your 100 coins. What 5 buckets you want to put it in? You know what I mean? Like, that's literally what you're doing, right? Obviously, there's, if it's not as easy as that. I'm simplifying. You also have to be, smart, and you have to like figure out how to like, make more money and all those other things. But, it is really like managing time, and time is the currency. And and so I love that you said that, and I think that it's a really, really interesting point of view that I have bonded with you very, very quickly on. Is because, I also feel like that now that I've moved to Texas, is like, I don't actually care anymore. I just want that number, and then I'm good. Like, I don't need anything more than that. And the number is significantly lower than I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I've always been like, I need to make like millions, and I'm like, actually, when I broke down what makes me happy, it's like playing with my kids on a trampoline. Like, I don't know, like it's like coaching their soccer. Like, you don't need a lot.
Yeah. Have you read? There's an article about it. Like, there's what they call the happiness quotient for money. Do you know about that?
There's an article about this.
There's studies. They've done studies, sociological studies about people's experiences of happiness vis-a-vis pleasure and purpose, and the feelings of pleasure that every incremental jump of income gives a person. So, for example, if you make $20,000 a year, and then suddenly you get a raise or a different job, and now you make $30,000 a year, that makes a really significant difference in your quality of life, and your happiness goes up. Mm-hmm. And if you go from 30,000 to 50,000, that is also really meaningful. At that stage, that extra money is really meaningful, and you really do feel better pleasure and happiness. But they found a happiness quotient, or a happiness threshold, above which every extra dollar means nothing for your emotional well-being and your happiness. So there is there is a very clear numerical limit. And it does depend on where you live, because it is in relation to your cost of living.
Cost of living, yeah.
But if, like, in my area, like, I forget what the number was, but the magic number that the article hit on, that it hit as a median for most places, was $75,000.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard the $75,000 number.
Right,
yeah.
That's like the number that's not like known. But where I live, it's higher. Like, where I live, it might be 100, 120 or whatever. But like, there's some number where like, every dollar towards that number is meaningful, and you want to work towards it. But then every number above it, every dollar above it, is actually not that crucial for your happiness. That's kind of interesting to be aware of.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Oh man, I got to read that. That's amazing. I love it. Okay, so let's get. I can talk to you for hours, but I just looked at the time, so I gotta let me get back into some of the core questions I want to ask you.
All right.
What are you thinking about in this next chapter, as you get back into the business chapter and working chapter? What are you thinking about for business? What does success look like for you now? So now that you've done the business, you built an ecosystem and that's self-running, you took, it sounds like, a good hunk of time off to be a full-time dad and really focus in on that. Now you're getting back into the seat of business. What does business success look like to you now?
Okay. Well, business success to me now looks like, As I think it would always be from the philosophical standpoint, it's that I'm doing work that feels purposeful. I'm making the world a better place, and I'm harnessing my superpowers. And so I don't care what the industry is. I'm now part of a startup that's in the hotel world. I don't know anything about hotels, but my part of that team is pulling on my superpowers, and it's fun. I always want to learn, and I always want to contribute, and I don't want to contribute to something that I feel like is just for a money grab, right? I want to do things that are meaningful to me. So, in any event, I want to do those kinds of things. And honestly, I feel like kind of a free agent, to be truthful. I have a lot of options, but if someone were to swoop in right now and say, Scott, I've been watching you, you're the man, I have an incredible opportunity, I would be open to it. Like, I kind of feel like I've got this energy that's open to the universe and then to whatever comes my way. But in the meantime, I'm still, moving forward with some projects that are important to me. So the main ones I would say is I'm involved with new startups. Second thing is I am taking BrainStorm National, and there are a lot of interesting things developing for me in that world. And then, and then the third thing that could be in the professional direction is writing books and giving speeches and being a thought leader out in the world. And I have a lot of things that I think I can bring to the broader conversation. I'm good on stage. I'm good as a writer. There's stuff there that I know I haven't harnessed enough yet of my abilities, and that might be something to do in my 40s.
That's awesome. Those are some really, really good goals, brother. I love it. You tell me how I can help on your journey. I want to be a part of it, and I don't care what it is. I'll be your intern. I'll be your PA.
Yeah, right.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
You're my intern.
I just want to be a part of it. So you tell me. Okay. So in this stage of your parenting journey, has your parenting goals changed now that you're going back into work and your kids are now teenagers? And they're starting to develop in a different way. Like, what are your success criteria? If anything has changed, or are they the same?
They're the same. I still feel like we're developing a whole person. I still feel like we're trying to develop attributes and values and inculcate really positive mindsets. And I still want to develop for them an inner strength and a vision for their future, an understanding of their unique genius. And how to harness that and develop it over time. I'm still trying to help them feel comfortable in their own skin, happy to be who they are, unapologetic about how badass they are. Those are things that teenage girls are not taught in the United States. And so I have to push really hard against culture to help them accomplish those things. And now that they're really in the teen years, I am the awkward dad that they're embarrassed of. Like, that stuff's happening. You're not going to go around it entirely. But I still really do feel that this is the stage when I want them to step into their giftings and their power, and I want to double down. I want to double down on things like service mindset and humility and love for others and kindness and courage. That's and the mental wellness stuff. I'm gonna be in their business just as much as I am with my students about their sleep schedule, the way they eat, the way that they take care of their body, the way that they meditate, breath work. Like, I'm gonna give them tools. And the only challenge now is that they're teenagers with opinions. And so now when I say, hey, let's do X, they're like, ew, I have this other thing. I'm gonna hang out with my girls. Like, can I stop? Can we stop with the? I have to be very gentle, and I have to pick my battles.
Yeah, I love it. That's I don't love it. I'm not looking forward to that. But yes, I do love that you're experiencing it at least before me, so you can tell me how to navigate that, or at least be a crying shoulder for me, right? A shoulder to cry on. Sorry, yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you for qualifying those two answers. And let me actually go jump into my rapid fire questions. So I like to try to keep five questions the same for every guest, so that there's like some consistency. Yours definitely went off the rails because I got so into what you were saying.
Sorry.
So don't be sorry. That's my fault. I was super interested. But let me bring you back and get the rapid fires in. Okay. What advice do you have for other parents and soon-to-be parents?
Advice for parents. Don't listen to advice on parenting.
I love it. So meta. That's great. That's awesome.
Can I add one more quick thing?
Please.
The other advice for to-be parents or for new parents is that this is the ultimate personal development program. And you don't need to pay thousands of dollars to Tony Robbins to help you do this. Like, All you have to do is really care about your kid and realize how big an impact every part of your being in their energetic space impacts them. And you're instantly held to an incredibly high standard. And I would encourage a new parent or an incipient parent to step up their game and be aware, like, this is what the universe is calling them to right now, and be ready to learn. You're not the teacher, you're the student.
Love it. That's awesome. Good stuff, brother. Okay, so more on the personal side, if you can go back and tell yourself one thing before having kids, what would you tell yourself?
I guess I would say that I would remind myself, I guess, two things. Education is mostly caught, not taught. So, like, in other words, just by being around you, they're learning. And so the energetic piece is interesting because I was always very careful about my words with my kids, but I wasn't as conscientious as I could have been around the energy that I felt and that I was putting out around me. If I was angry or impatient or frustrated, especially with my spouse, and they would feel an energy, that's a thing that kids are really feeling and don't know how to articulate yet. So anyway, I would have told myself, like, be very aware of the energy that you're putting out into the space. That's education. Your kids are catching that.
Dude, so amazing. That's great. Even going more personal, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned about yourself after becoming a parent?
I guess I'm surprised. Partially, I'm surprised by how obsessed I am with being a parent. It's just so fun and awesome. And I thought I would really like it and knew it'd be meaningful to me, but not to this degree. You know? So thrilled by it. And also in terms of myself, like, I think, it's also been interesting to learn how truly patient and gentle and empathic I can be, whereas those were terms I didn't really think of to describe myself before I was a parent, but it brought it out in me. And I was like, wow, no, I can do those things too.
Dope. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, let's switch gears here. So can you point out your all-time favorite business book? Sounds like you read a lot, so I just wanted to see if you could do one, but you can list a couple if you need.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the Bible. And that's a cheat because that's a lot more than one book.
Yeah, and that's also a cheat because is it a business book?
Well, of course it is. Business comes down to relationships and values, and we get it from the Bible.
Oh, I love it. Nice.
And so, no, I'll turn definitely to everything from, the Psalms and Proverbs. There's incredible wisdom, to Ecclesiastes, to in the New Testament, Galatians, Matthew. There's stuff in James and Hebrews. Like, those books are so full of wisdom and stuff that really guides relationships so that you're a person of character and who becomes reliable, who loves people, who knows how to put other people first and to understand their needs and speak to them with love. And how is that not all business relevant, right? Man. That to me is a good starting point. And then I also do love, a couple other books. I love the War of Art. So people talk about the art of war, right? Sun Tzu, and that's cool. And I've read that and I like it. And I like the War of Art, which is Stephen Pressfield, and that's basically the concept of, if you want to make art, whether you're writing a book or doing that module-based learning system or creating that company, that's all creative, incredible output. And doing it is war. Because there are things that are called resistance, that push against your desire to have that creative thing birthed into the world. And so learning to deal with resistance and arming yourself with tools to beat back resistance and see the creative vision to its manifest vision, like completion, is hard and important. It's important, and that book, The War of Art, I think gives some good tools for it.
It's awesome, man. That's great. I love it. All right. I think I know this answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. When you're not being a super dad and building out the next big project in your life, what do you do for fun? What's your downtime?
Oh, man, yeah. I love soccer. I'm a big...
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm a big athlete. I played soccer all through college, varsity level, at my college in Boston. And so I love sports. So definitely an athlete first. And related to athletics, I'm obsessed with dance. I never took a dance class in my life, an official, whatever, but I just think it's so fun. And so I dance throughout my day at home, like right here. Like I'm like, oh, I've been sitting at the desk too long. I'll pop on a couple of songs and I'll just like take a dance break and then I'll come back to it. It just feeds me. I love Latin dance. So anyway, soccer, dance, like athletic stuff. I'm doing a triathlon this weekend. I'm doing a Spartan race next weekend. Just things that push my body. I love. And
Heck, that is not what I was expecting at all. It's amazing.
You didn't see that coming? Okay. And then the other quick thing is that I'm big on music. So I play instruments and I love like writing songs, and that's another creative outlet.
Awesome, man. That's so good. Scott, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to unpack even more about you that's not even the business side, and there was even more to learn about you on this side than there is even on the business side. So just thank you so much for your vulnerability, your time, and just your knowledge, man. I really appreciate it.
Listen, I want to take a moment. Thank you. I received that. And also I want to acknowledge, like, I love hanging out with you. You're super bright and super kind, and you bring out a lot of good things in other people, and I find myself feeling very inspired and clear-headed and supported when I'm with you, and I just want to acknowledge you for being a great human, and it's a lovely thing to get to know you.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate you saying that. We'll talk soon, right? Yeah.
Remember, you're going to intern for me. We should talk
That's
about
right. That's right. We're
Okay.
going to be traveling for your speaking engagements. Yeah, so we're good. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you again for being on the show. Thank you again for listening to the Girl Dad Show. To help our show grow, please let us know who we should interview next by filling out the form on our website or commenting below.